All
All
right.
right.
So John Paul picked Rita from 2024, and what he had said when he announced this pick was that it was a fantasy movie in the lane of Pan's Labyrinth.
That is
Isn't that what you
correct.
said? Okay. The
Yes.
summary for the movie is at an institution for troubled girls in Guatemala City. Rita finds herself at the center of an uprising by the seemingly magical groups of girls who are sick of being exploited. Written by Jairo. How do you say that? Do you know how to say that? Jayro. That's a
Hey, Hero,
Pyro.
you know
Pyro,
The J is an
Busta
H. There you go.
Busta,
Busta,
Bustamante.
Manta,
Bustamante.
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 Yeah,
He did 2019's La Llorona, right? Huh?
La
Is that
Llorona.
right?
Yep. Which
Oh,
which
Uh,
okay.
is which is the
uh,
Mexican witch.
yeah.
I mean, that's
that's the
basically what it
worst
was.
kind. um,
Well, what?
Wow.
Hey,
See,
hey.
half of
Wow.
my heritage is gone. Flip.
Uh,
And I flipped the coin. Now I'm no longer Mexican.
shoot.
Illegal. Illegals.
Hey,
Yeah.
I have legal papers
yeah.
He'll be
until
saying that a
Supreme
lot
Leader
in the
kicks me
next
out of this
few
country.
4 years. Um, okay, so the first thing I noticed about this is this new aspect ratio. I don't know what it is. It's like, remember how like a widescreen would look on a standard TV? Like
Hmm.
either the bars on both. Well, they've done it again. It's like they want to give you that fucking experience. So it's like panoramic or something. It's like smaller than your TV. It's longer. You're seeing more side to side, but I don't know why they're doing it. Fill the
They
screen
had a
up and
reason
that's
in
cool.
this movie, though,
What was it?
for you to see the whole thing of everything that's going on and the sides and
Well,
the
I
there's
the
feel
nothing
like
going
crypticness
on
of
I
in
the
the
feel like
abuse.
this whole review is going to be Frank saying
I'm not going
something
to
and
defend it.
John Paul
I'll be
uh,
defending
nice. I'm not going to
it.
uh,
defend this movie.
yeah.
I
okay,
will. I will.
I'm gonna kind
I
of
will
We
walk
let
you
haven't
people
gotten
through.
go and
the
read my
aspect
TikTok
ratio.
review,
Okay, well,
and you
that's just the
do
first
this.
thing and I've noticed it in other films that we've watched.
There you go.
They're doing this now. It's like, hey guys, remember what it was like to watch widescreen on a standard TV? Let's do that again. I don't understand it. I don't need it
It's
wider. I
called
need to fill my
retro.
screen up. I needed to fill my screen up. That's it. Um, just show me that. Use that frame. Uh, but uh, the movie looks good. It's really, I mean, there's craftsmanship here. I just they clearly know what they're doing, so it's already like at a 3 from the beginning. That's automatic. If it looks this good and clean and you know what you're doing and you can tell right off the bat that these people know how to make a film of quality, it's a 3 all right off the
There's
bat.
that.
So
That's their butt. There's a butt coming.
they have all the means and machines to make a great movie, but did they? That's the real question.
But
Uh, the
therefore,
instant
Yeah.
the institution is basically split into different groups. Um, you first there's not much introduction to the character Rita. She's just kind of taken to this institution for like troubled girls. And all of them seem to be wearing a different kind of costume. Like there's some that are wearing wings, some that are wearing like these muzzle things and they kind of growl like dogs. There's some of them that are look like Egyptian princesses and stuff. They all look like different kind of characters, but they're in like it's almost like a shitty Azkaban, right? Like it's like there's not really that much magic happening, but there's like an air of magic. Like there's like the idea of magic. Um, and basically it's like 60 days in kind of feeling. To me, it's like a prison. And I normally like prison shit, but this is also like kind of Harry Pottery a little bit. But there's not that much magic. That's the thing. They want you to think there's more magic than there is, and it's weird. Um, but yeah, the she basically is roughed up whenever she gets there, and they're kind of like, you got to wear these wings if you want to survive in here, kind of like a jail, like they're like the skinheads. So they beat her into the gang. Eventually, she succumbs to wearing these wings, and then you sort of find out that this institution, which has terrible electric problems, like there's just there's just terrible power. It's like Hogwarts, but the power's shaky. They got issues with the wiring. Um, but basically they like are sex trafficking these girls, I believe is what's happening. Like and the guards are like just terrible conditions for all these girls. They're getting molested, they're getting impregnated by the guards and forced to have fucking abortions, and some of them are dying and some of them are committing suicide, and basically they're trying to like get out of there. They want to expose all this stuff that's happening. um there's a scene in it where they get, and I know some of this is based, I read what the real story was behind this. So
Yeah,
some
this
of
is
this is
based on
some of
some
this
real
is
stuff.
the terrible stuff that's in this is pretty true. Like they were trapped in their room and weren't allowed to use the bathroom. And there was a scene where they all decide they're going to pee in these buckets and throw them under the door. And they're yelling revolutionary pee. They're chanting it. And at that point I was like, is John Paul serving me, as he calls it? Did he fucking give me, because I
I
still
did
don't know
not.
what's going on.
This
And
was not a serve.
what I was
This is
expecting to happen, since everybody's like, these girls that have these wings, there's like a hierarchy within it. There's like a leader and all this stuff. And they sort of make it seem like they maybe are able to fly with these wings at certain points. I thought they were going to be growing it like into her back or something, like in that sort of fantastical way. No, no, it doesn't ever happen. Nothing like that happens. The amount of fantasy in this is so small. It's like there's some sparkles that happen from time to time and bubbles that occur, but you don't really know the definite. There's no definite magic. There's no, like, if it looks like it wanted to be. What was that movie we watched that was a fantasy not too long ago? Moon Garden.
Right.
Mhm.
Moon Garden has
Speaking of Moon
so.
Garden, I lost that movie too.
Oh shit,
Oh.
that's a shame.
Yeah.
But Moon Garden is like fantasy. Like that is, there's dark stuff in it, but also a lot of fantasy. There's not enough fantasy in this to bring me out of the darkness of the fucking constant rapes. There's no horror in this, and there's barely any fantasy, John Paul. So I don't know.
I
I,
mean, I will tell you the horror is more like the true story of the fact that this shit went down.
I was just saying, it
And the
sounds pretty
fact that
horrific.
The real
yeah,
stories that I read were terrible, and it does end exactly how that story ends in a sort of. I mean,
in a sort of way,
these
exactly.
I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but these girls have a terrible fate, and it it is what it is. But they do try to put some fantasy in it. They have a social worker who looks like she works for Voldemort or something. She's like a creepy. She was creeping around, and they have these characters that are like, they call themselves stars, I think, and they're just basically girls wearing like black veils, and they have little. That's the magic, you see. That's the most magic. They have little sparkles, about as much as this snow is going on around me.
I like
That's
it.
what it. That's what it's kind of like. But yeah, the horror in it, the real horror in it, is that if you look up this true story and find out, I mean, it would have been much more powerful of an art piece and a telling of that story if they would have just threw all that fantasy bullshit out of it and stopped adding extra shit into it. Because I'm sure they did.
Yeah, you can't take a horrific story and make that doesn't make it a horror movie.
It seems
Well,
like they added shit,
if you're
is what I
gonna
was
if you're
saying.
gonna put it
Like,
on a horror, like it's on Shutter, if you're gonna have a horror service and you're putting movies on there it's something bad happened, it's horrific. That's not a horror movie.
yeah, I mean, you find out, like, I was expecting all of these girls to have, they all look different. I thought they were all going to have different powers, and like, and I understand why they didn't add all that extra fantasy, because they couldn't. They just kind of wanted to put a little bit of magic in it, like just like a little bit of Disney on it. But you know,
Little bit of Disney.
they like, you find out that they're all wearing these different costumes because that makes them more appealing to clients when they sex traffic them. So, you know, yeah, I said, I'm not a fan of movies of this tone. There wasn't enough fantasy to hit like Moon Garden, but just as much sadness. Like, it's all throughout it. There's all that. Like, Moon Garden is sad as fuck from beginning to end, but it balances it with that majesty of the fucking fantasy realm that we walk through. Same thing with Pan's Labyrinth. But this doesn't have enough fantasy. It just kind of almost, I think, disrespectfully highlights this story when they could have just did a straight up documentary or not a documentary. What do they call those movies that tell us this?
Dramatizations.
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
I mean, I'll defend this just a tad bit because, again, there is a lot that gets lost in translation, even with the subtitles of this movie. I will tell you that because me understanding exactly what is going down and what was written, they played a little around with that. And I think the filmmaker specifically, the fantasy was the horrific things that the girls put in their mind. So you are led to believe that you are the characters and you are the real life people. That's why this is horror. Not just that, yeah, there was a lot of fucking crazy essays left and right and all kinds of, stuff like that. But that was the whole point, to grab you and say, this shit is real. Let's look at it this way. I mean, I saw an interview with the filmmaker. He did say, hey, I interviewed a couple of these. That's what they said that they did to kind of keep their mind from like going insane.
Well, that's a little
So
bit
there's
of
that.
added context. No, I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was fucking
Yeah.
terrible. Like I said, it was beautifully shot. It's good, but not my cup of tea. If you like stuff like this, like
I
you know,
didn't serve you. This wasn't a serve. This
it's
was
I get it for me. It's just a glass of water. It's
okay.
a 4 out of 10. So, but if you're a
Merry
film,
Christmas.
you know,
Yeah.
if you're a film buff and you like you guys will watch any, I don't watch dramas. There's a lot of drama in this that is not my like dark. Like it felt like you could have gave me some Archie comics for Christmas, but you made me watch fucking Precious.
God damn.
Okay.
A lot of
Oh,
abortions. There's a
wow.
lot.
Funny.
There was about 5 or 6 more abortions than I like, but